Hey all, Matt Stockton here. I wanted to give a quick demo of the capabilities to create a custom GPT within ChatGPT and OpenAI. From what I've seen, most people use these large language models using the app or the browser to ask, free-form questions or whatever they have on their mind. And of course, there's lots of information out there on prompting and good prompting capabilities. Highly recommend Andrew Ng's course on Coursera for that. But I think these custom GPTs add a little bit of extra capabilities here in that they allow you to kind of pre-can instructions for a custom GPT and then share that GPT out with people who may get value out of it. So if you have a more elaborate set of instructions that you have and you always want that context to be effectively accessible to the GPT, this is a really interesting way to do that. You can kind of come into OpenAI, ChatGPT, and I've already created this, but this leadership decision mentor, which I'll talk about in a second. But when you come and create a GPT, you basically can go through a workflow, which is it's kind of meta, but it's a custom GPT to help you build a custom GPT. It'll ask you what you want to make and will prompt you for information about, how this thing should work. And then ultimately what it does after you go through the workflow here, which I won't do, I'll just kind of show you the output, is it creates a custom GPT. So this GPT that I created, I'm calling the Leadership Decision Mentor, helps to guide you in making decisions using expert advice. One idea I've had for a while is I like to read a lot of leadership and management books. They're really interesting to me. I think a lot of these books have different prisms and different mental models for how to make decisions or lead teams. And I love going through them, taking notes, highlighting things. But ultimately, a lot of that information gets lost. I mean, it's hard to retain that information. So can you build a GPT that tries to use some of the information in the books that you like to help you make decisions? That was the idea I had. And I've thought about building a tool that uses large language models using the API and actually building software, but building a custom GPT actually allows you to really quickly prototype this in a way that requires pretty limited effort. So I think this took me maybe 5 to 10 minutes to build out. So let's click into this and let's edit it just so that we can see what the configuration looks like. So again, I went through the GPT workflow to create this, but that created this configuration for this Leadership Decision Mentor GPT. So it has a name, it has a description, and then the two core things it has is instructions, which you can think about this as like the prompt that is always there when you're using the GPT. And it has conversation starters, which are buttons that the user can click when they're using their GPT to just say, hey, this is where I want to start. So I added these. When I created the tool, it actually created some conversation starters for me, but I modified these to add a few issues or problems or things that I've experienced in my career when I'm trying to figure out how to make decisions. So the instructions, again, like I went through this custom GPT builder and it generated these instructions. And I think, it's designed to assist managers in making informed decisions. It will prompt the user to specify the decision they're trying to make. The unique aspect, or the thing that I thought would be most useful, is providing a list of books that the GPT should rely on when it's trying to formulate its advice. So I added a couple books here that I've enjoyed to read: High Output Management, Thinking in Systems, Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, Leaders Eat Last, Radical Candor. But you could come in and build one and put whatever books you want in here, and it would build it for you. I asked the GPT to unpack the core of the problem with the user and then provide detailed steps to implement the decision. So you could, this took me a couple minutes to build out, and you could be really intentional about the instructions and really elaborate on this, and then try different strategies to figure out a GPT that actually works for you. So this is kind of like the MVP version of this. You can also upload files that the GPT can have access to. So if you have like a PDF that you want it to reference, you can upload those as well. And there's really kind of interesting things you could do to make the GPT call an application in your own infrastructure. So if you have like a REST API or something that you want the GPT to access, there's capabilities to do that too. So there's really a really interesting way to build a prototype of a tool without actually having to write a lot of code. So let's try this out. So this is the Leadership Decision Mentor. This is one of the canned conversation starters that I put in. I need help coaching a teammate who is very enthusiastic and positive, but is not getting their work done. And, this is kind of similar to typing in this prompt into the generic ChatGPT, but this ChatGPT has this additional context that I had added here in the instructions. So it'll kind of go through and answer that question. And let's see if it's in the past when I've used this, it has kind of referenced kind of nuggets from these different books. It doesn't look like it did that this time, but I think it probably has used the context from those books to formulate the answer. Let's see. Let's try another one. I need help setting OKRs for my team. I want to determine the best way to get the entire team involved in the process. So it's just something fun to play around with. I think one big use case would be like if you're trying to get your team or your company to use LLMs in a specific way, and the friction to just kind of have them go to chatgpt.com and ask their questions or ask for feedback on things. If that friction is too high, if they need like a bit more of a nudge, you can kind of build a custom GPT, and you can provide instructions. And then if you're really good about setting these conversation starters, right, instead of the user having to come in and getting like a blank field to type in their questions, they can just click one of these conversation starters, which, is a good start. But then the user can also just take the outputs of this, and they can continue the conversation and add additional context. So I think that's one aspect of this that I'm most curious about is the ability for it to lessen the friction of adoption for teams that could really get benefit out of large language models. Anyways, I just wanted to share this. I thought it was really cool. I hadn't really played too much around with custom GPTs before, and they seem really valuable, and they're only going to get better. One other interesting thing about this is you can share this. So if you have I think you have to have a paid GPT subscription, but you can you can share the chat, of course, but like if you go to the actual GPT, you can share the GPT either in the store, so you can publish it, or you can just share the link. So you can build one of these things and then take the link and just send it to your team and say, hey, use this. So I think that's a really interesting way to get people started with this if they're kind of don't know how to use it. Is build a small GPT that solves a specific problem for your company, or has some context about what you're trying to do in your team, and share the link out to your team. Anyways, just wanted to share my learning so far, and definitely love hearing what people are trying to do with these technologies. So feel free to reach out.